Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to do kind of like a recap of the books that I have read. So if you hear tippy tappies, that is my dog. I don't know if he's in the frame or not, but it's currently the beginning of June, so it's been about 5 months into the year. So I wanted to go ahead and do the books that I've already read so far this year. So I set a goal for myself to read 30 books this year. And I think I'm at book 18 or 19. I think 19 because I just finished one. So I wanted to do like a little recap of the books that I read so far this year. And then I also want to do my TBR. So I have a current TBR of a bunch of books that I have bought that I'm trying so freaking hard to get through. That way I can buy new books. And then I'm also planning on doing like a whole decluttering video. And part of that video, I'm going to declutter my bookshelves, because I know there's definitely books in here that I don't really like, I'm never going to touch again, so I want to go through those, but I'd like to also get through as many of the books on my TBR, so if I don't like them, I can get rid of them and not just hold on to them. So that is the plan. I have just sat down, and I have my coffee here with me and my dog, and I am ready to get started. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. Okay, so I'm going to actually run through quickly. So the only ones I don't have with me is the first book I read this year was The Silent Patient, which was so good. I highly recommend that book to just about anybody that likes any sort of like suspense or thriller book. I actually don't have that one here with me because I am letting my mom borrow it. She's actually in the process of reading it, and I think she'll like it. So I don't have that one. And then I also don't have I started the Shatter Me series, and I talked about this in my June reset, I believe. So I don't have those books with me because I read those on the Kindle, but I read the first 3 books in the series, so I liked those, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading the next ones. And then kind of in that same category, I read the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Lee Bardugo or something. So it's a trilogy of 3 books, and they're kind of like along the lines of that fantasy sci-fi romance books, and these were not my favorite. These are actually my mom's, so I have these. I'm going to give them back to her. They were an easy read. I was kind of hoping they were going to be like similar vibes to like ACOTAR or Throne of Glass or something, but they're not. They were just meh. I wasn't a huge fan of those. And then next I read some Colleen Hoover books. So I read 4 of them so far this year. So I read Maybe Now, which is the second book in the series, Confess, All Your Perfects, and Hopeless. And I think I talked about, sorry, I know this is kind of repetitive. I talked about this in my June reset, so I'm just going to briefly say it. I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm kind of over her books. They're very repetitive, and some of the storylines are just like meh. And kind of like, I don't like the way that they are. So I've liked Hopeless, and this All Your Perfects made me cry. That one was sad. And then I'm trying to even remember what Confess is. Like, clearly, like, this one was okay. They're not substantial. There's other stuff that I would have liked, but I would recommend I would basically recommend these 3. These 3 were pretty good. This one was kind of boring. I loved the first one, which was, I have it back here, Maybe Someday. That one was really good, so I had high hopes for Maybe Now, but it was just meh. So those are my Colleen Hoover books that I read. And then on the like romance category, I read Love the One You're With by Emily Giffin. So I actually really enjoyed this book. It took me a little bit to get into it. I am not gonna lie. I think I had this like with the first couple chapters read sitting on my nightstand for probably like 2 months, and I forced myself to finish it, and I actually ended up really liking it. So I am excited to read more of hers. I have a stack back here that I'll show you of her books to read. So this one was good. And then I also read The American Roommate Experience by Elena Armas. Sorry if I'm not saying that right. This one had, I don't know, I have mixed reviews, so if I'm offending you, please don't be offended. But this one I just wasn't that big of a fan of. I felt like it was really overhyped, and it just I don't know. I didn't really like it. It was okay. That's all I've got to say. It's about, you know, a girl whose apartment gets messed up, so she moved into her friend's apartment who was out of town. Unbeknownst to her, she let her cousin borrow it, so they ended up being roommates, and it's kind of like their story and like how they coexist or whatever. It was just okay. I don't know, a little much for me. And then the last romance I read was Love and Other Words by, is it Christina? Yeah, Christina Lauren. And I talked about this also in my June reset. I love this one. I think so far, besides The Silent Patient, this has been my favorite book that I've read so far this year. It was so good, and it inspired me to get more of her books. I have never read anything by her. So this is like two hometown friends who kind of grew up together, and then they went their separate ways as adults, and then they reconnected. And this was just, I really enjoyed that one. Okay, and then the last category of books that I've read so far are thrillers. So I've read 4 thrillers, and I read this one by Chevy Stevens, Those Girls. This book was really good, but it was really dark and had some very uncomfortable moments and some disturbing moments that I wish I would have known about prior to reading it, because I probably would not have. But beside that, the storyline itself was really good, and I enjoyed it. I think I blew through it in like 2 days. I was up late one night reading it and then couldn't fall asleep because of, you know, what I had read. But besides that, this book was actually really good. And then I read The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. So she's actually become one of my favorite thriller authors, because a lot of her books end up having a really creepy twist that you don't see in other basic thrillers, you know. This one was good. I enjoyed this one a lot. It's about this couple that disappears in, I think they're in Canada or England. So one of the two, I can't remember. I think maybe England. I don't know. Or Europe somewhere. They disappear one night and they're in college, and then a writer moves to town and discovers something planted, and like I think it's 3 years later or something like that, and so everything is kind of like brought back up, and it's just kind of follows that story. So that was really good. And then I also read The Perfect Stranger and The Last House Guest, both by Megan Miranda. So I really like her books as well, and I'm trying to remember, I don't know, sometimes thrillers, if they are not like super substantial in my mind, I cannot remember them. I'll get them definitely confused. So this one, was about a girl who moves to a small town with her best friend, and then her best friend disappears, and like there's a whole investigation. I'm trying to remember how this one ended. And I think this one was pretty good. I would probably give this one like 3.5 stars. It was okay. I'll definitely keep it because I know like there's probably somebody in my family who would want to borrow this at some time. And then The Last House Guest. Oh, okay, so this was about some friends and somebody disappeared. This one was better. I liked this one actually a lot better than The Perfect Stranger. I would probably give this one 4 stars. So those are the books that I have read so far this year, and let's go ahead and get into my current TBR list. Okay, so I'm kind of going to pull, they're mostly behind me, so I'm going to kind of pull them from these different stacks so I don't get them all confused. So first I have this stack of thrillers that I need to get through. So somebody in my mom's neighborhood was selling, I want to say like 20 thrillers or something for $40. It was like a steal, and there were a lot of good ones in there. So I snagged them up. So I have a ton of thrillers on my TBR, and I would say I'm kind of a mood reader, kind of not. I have to be in the mood to read a thriller, that's for sure. Usually once I start them and get into them, I like them, but for whatever reason I have the hardest time actually starting them. So the first one is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, and I can't even tell you what it's about because it's one of those books where the back cover doesn't have any information. But I read The Guest List by her, and that one was really good, so I thought I would like this one. And then If She Only Knew by Lisa Jackson. So I think Lisa Jackson, I get her confused sometimes with Lisa Jewell, but I believe she's been around for a while because my grandma recognized her and said she was a pretty good author. So this one is about a woman. Oh, so this is about a car crash between two women. One dies, one is in a coma, and then when the one woman wakes up from a coma, her memory is gone and her face is being reconstructed, but she doesn't know like who all her family is. So that one might be interesting. And then there's If You Tell by Greg Olson. This is like another sister book, but whereas Those Girls was a sister book kind of with some angst against their dad, this one seems to be against the mom. And it's kind of probably similar vibes because that was in a countryside in Canada. This one is countryside in Washington. So actually, I probably will read this one next. And then I have The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. And then Lies She Told by Kate Holohan. And then The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. This is another one that doesn't have what it's about on the inside, which I hate. I also don't love hardbacks. I'm not a fan. But these are also on my TBR. And then I'm going to put these up. Okay, and then also in terms of thrillers, I have The Gift by Louise Jensen. And this is when Jenna is given a donor heart from a girl, and she gets close to that family, but then discovers that the woman who gave her the heart, that the family is hiding something. The parents are grieving, yet Jenna knows she's the only getting half of the story. Where's Callie's sister? She's been abroad. She meets Callie's boyfriend and makes a shocking discovery. So this could be interesting. This I'm seeing like, did she get the sister's heart? Did somebody murder her? I don't know. And then What She Knew by Gilly Macmillan. Rachel Jenner is walking in a Bristol park with her 8-year-old son when he asks if he can run ahead and then vanishes. The police are called, search parties go out, and Rachel becomes undone. As hours and days pass without a sign of Ben, everybody who knows him is called into question. Inevitably, media attention focuses on Rachel too, and the public's attitude toward her begins to shift from sympathy to suspicion. As she desperately tries to piece together the clues, she realizes nothing is quite as she imagined it to be, and the greatest dangers may not lie in the anonymous strangers of every parent's nightmares, but behind the familiar smiles of those she can trust the most. So, this one will probably be a harder one to read since it involves a kid going missing, but it sounds good as well. And then The Good Girl by Mary Kubaka. The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. While You Were Sleeping by Catherine Croft. And then 2 Ruth Ware books, so The Lying Game and In a Dark, Dark Wood. So I'm trying to see if it's in here. I have already read a couple of books by Ruth Ware, and I liked one of them, and I didn't love the other one, so I'm curious how I'm going to feel about these two. In a Dark, Dark Wood is actually my sister-in-law's book that I'm borrowing, so I need to get her that back. She swears by it, so I have high hopes for it, but those are all my thrillers. I'm going to quickly run through my last stack of TBRs, and that'll be it. Okay, last but not least, we're going to get through this last little stack that I have here. So my mom is letting me borrow this Bad Girl Reputation book. I don't think she even read it, so she just picked it up at Target. So I don't know if it'll be good or not, but it's when a former bad girl, Genevieve West, returns home for her mother's funeral. She's prepared to keep her distance from her ex-boyfriend, their history and passion, and she's trying desperately to forget, but it's impossible not to bump into him. The moment she sees him, it's clear that she's still attracted to him. However, she's resolved to walk a new path, no more partying, no more mistakes. So yeah, I guess it's going to be their kind of story. And then, like I said, I bought this trilogy of books, once again, from somebody selling them in my mom's neighborhood, of Emily Giffin books. So pretty sure, at least, I know these two, I think these might be a trilogy. So it's Something Borrowed, Heart of Matter, and Something Blue. If this, I at least know Something Borrowed and Something Blue are connected. I don't know if Heart of the Matter is or not, but these definitely all have really good reviews, so I'm excited to give her another shot and get through these. And then I have The Help has been on my TBR for forever, and I have made it a goal this year to read this book because I've had it for so many years. And then I have People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. And the reason this has been on here is I read, Book Lovers and Beach Read, and I wasn't like super impressed on them, so that's why this one's been on here for forever, because I don't really not itching to read it. And then I have two more Emily Giffin books. I have All We Ever Wanted and The One and Only. So those are all of my physical TBRs that I personally have. I've got like a running list on my phone, but I'm trying to get through at least one of these stacks, hopefully this one, of thrillers before I go and buy any more books, which is a daunting task when you think about it, but I'll be fine. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've read any of these books and you enjoyed them, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any book recommendations, I would love to hear it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.